Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Forrest here with some more Hearthstone. Today we'll be taking a look at a fairly standard Minion Heavy Rogue deck. This was posted up on the Hearthstone subreddit by Aira. It starts with early game board control and then you move into a mid-game finish. So some of the early board control includes your hero power plus deadly poison along with the spell Backstab. There's some strong early mid minions such as the Harvest Golem and SI7 agent, and then finishers in the Argent Commander and Leeroy Jenkins. Now with the general premise out of the way, let's take a look at the deck in action. Now while this deck may not be flashy and sexy with a bunch of crazy combos, it's fairly efficient and also relatively inexpensive. There's only a few really pricey cards, which would be the Leeroy Jenkins as well as Sylvanas. But you know, you could replace the Leeroy Jenkins. Sylvanas is, well, that's a legendary you should be going for anyways. We're playing against a Warlock. Backstab is amazing in this matchup, but I don't want the Leeroy Jenkins in my hand, nor do I want that other card. So, oh god, this is not good. This is not a good start, unfortunately enough for us against a Warlock. Luckily, we did start off here with an Argent Squire, so that's pretty huge, but these two cards we did not want in our opening hand. Basically, when you're playing against a Warlock, you expect, of course, aggro. At this point in the metagame, you expect aggro at least. You want a Backstab, and then some other of your 2 drops, your 2 or 3 drops, for example. So he's going to be starting off here immediately with a Blood Imp, which good on him. And we are just gonna start the push for his face. Once he starts dropping creatures in play, we will deal with them as necessary. Luckily, we've got some massive damage in our hand between a Backstab in our opening hand and then the Eviscerate that we just drew into. And I'm just gonna keep poking away. I expect him to be tapping and all sorts of crazy stuff. If he doesn't, although I would imagine by now he'd have a creature, unless he was playing a Molten Giant version, but you don't typically see Blood Imps in the Molten Giant version. So let's see what he's got for his 3-drop here. It's going to be an Arcane Golem, so he's going straight for it, man. And he's going to go right for our face as well. So this is actually... Oh, this makes me pretty happy. Let me think about this here. So obviously we could Backstab and attack into it. We could also Backstab and then go like this. Or I could just Dark Iron Dwarf and just drop my shield for it and save the Backstab. And I think we're going to go ahead and do that. It's a balance. You have to, with this deck, you have to balance when to eliminate your opponent's creatures, clear the board, or focus on board control, another way of phrasing it, and when to go for their face. Now, go to the face is a big thing. This is not a late game deck. Its finishers are mid-game creatures, the Argent Commander and the Leeroy Jenkins. So the late game for this deck is pretty awful. All right, he's going to be hoping to hit the 3-1. Hopefully he doesn't. Let's see what happens. 1 in 3 chance, and he gets it. That lucky son of a bitch. And then he soul fires to finish off my creature. Oh, what a very sad day. All right, so what we will be doing is we can actually eliminate. We can take care of business here. So what we're gonna do is I will do 2 damage to this, and then we drop an SI7 agent combo to finish it off. And then we comboed Eviscerate to finish him off. Comboed Eviscerate, great at dealing damage to your opponent. Many times that's what you prefer to do, but in this situation now, we've eliminated his board. We've got a nice 3-3 in play. We can follow it up with the Defender of Argus. There's a decent chance we could draw into a 2-drop creature to also coincide with the Defender of Argus, which would be ideal. He's got this, which we can work through. We might not be able to, though, if it gets pumped up from the Priestess right here. Okay, so now there's a chance we might not be able to work through it, and there it is. That's unfortunate. All right, so I will go this way. We're just going to get the 1 Taunter. And then from that, we can combo Defias Ringleader. And I'm going to start off poking him down, get him down now to 1 HP. So we've got a decent amount of board presence here. Unless he's got board clear and a Hellfire, then we're in a pretty good position. He's going to drop his creature down. And he still has to work through that 4-3 taunt, so unless he can get rid of that right now with a Soulfire or Power Overwhelming, there's the Defender of Argus, and that gives him the opportunity to clear that. Loses his creature in the process, but looks like he is now realizing I need to focus on eliminating my opponent's board, and that's what he's going for. So there you have it. All right, now, do we give... All right, we're going to go like this. We're gonna go a single Defender of Argus just for the taunt for him. This allows us to combo into the SI7 agent for 2 damage, taking him out. And then, oh boy, I am actually going to ignore his 3/3 and go straight for the face. So this is the point where I make the decision. We can either focus on his 3/3, the one creature that he has in play, or we can start pushing through damage. My choice was to push through damage. I think the only thing that'll make that a huge mistake is if he does have a Hellfire. Actually, no, there's potential for additional board clear as well. He's taking a lot of damage though, so. And okay, so that's, he decided to not go for me there. So we've got 10 damage in play. I'm actually really concerned about what he may potentially have in his hand, to be honest with you. The fact that he, well, I guess pushing into this creature wouldn't have done anything. So if we go straight for him, he's down to 3. However, he could have board clear that would concern me, so I am actually going to, this time, focus on eliminating his creatures. And that is the game, because he decides to leave. Okay, so now that we've seen a look at a game, let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list. The Standard Minion Heavy Rogue deck from a era of Hearthstone's subreddit starts off with 2 Backstabs as well as 2 Deadly Poisons, great early game board control. We've got a couple of the Argent Squires, 2 Eviscerates, also great for early game or mid to late game control. And then we just have a slew of creatures, 2 Defias Ringleaders, great comboed double creatures, the Faerie Dragons, simply strong in the metagame with a direct target creature early removal. It's great against Druids as well. They need to hero power plus a creature or a claw or something like that, or mass damage to deal with it. So early on, they've got a little bit of a difficulty dealing with it. The Loot Hoarders and Novice Engineers, we've got a pair of both of those. Great card draw, also synergizes very well with things like your Shattered Sun Cleric. Pretty cheap drops for your SI7 agent, can work well with your Dark Iron Dwarf and Defender of Argus. Hit the Harvest Golem, a nice well-rounded creature, 2-for-1er. We've got the Shattered Sun Cleric to pump up your other creatures. SI7 agent, comboed damage for picking things off or pushing through extra damage. The Dark Iron Dwarf for pumping up minions and providing you for trade-ups or extra damage. Defender of Argus, pretty solid, obviously. Then we've got the Leeroy Jenkins. This, in conjunction with the Argent Commander, are the finishers for the deck. And then Sylvanas Windrunner, just because it's a strong mid-game play, really. As soon as you drop this in play, your opponents are immediately trying to deal with it, which either results in them dumping a ton of cards or doing unfavorable trades, plus losing a creature if they have anything extra left over after they get rid of Sylvanas. Now, pretty inexpensive if you consider the removal of Leeroy Jenkins. This is something that could be replaced with something like Arcane Golem, or just extra damage, extra rogue damage. Maybe dump a Cold Blood in there, for example. Remember, the Leeroy Jenkins is primarily here for pushing through that extra damage as a finisher. So if you can find another way to do it, such as Arcane Golem or dropping a Cold Blood on a creature that you already have, those are things that could work in a replacement. Sylvanas Windrunner, really no true replacement for this. You could obviously substitute it for just another rogue card or another strong early game minion / removal. However, the way the metagame has been for the past 1 to 2 months, this should probably be one of the first legendaries you craft, just because it's so strong and it's in many of the top tier decks. Argent Commander, again, really no great replacement for it, and if you don't have them already, you should probably try to get them, because even post-nerf, we're still seeing them in most decks. So yeah, I mean, if you take out the Leeroy, and if you don't have Sylvanas, this is still a pretty cheap deck that would be fairly strong. Not as strong with those 2 cards, because this is an amazing finisher and this is just a very well-rounded card, but the removal of these makes this a very accessible deck that will do very well in and of itself if you are in the lower rankings to mid rankings. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Once again, this has been Force taking a look at a Standard Minion Heavy Rogue deck, and I will be doing a gameplay video to follow this up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe, keep watching, and keep owning.